deliberation on this morally bankrupt agreement, the board of the Wyatt has decided to be on the side of immorality and cruelty. They have shown that they are comfortable trafficking in humans and profiting by imprisoning the most vulnerable people in our society. After the board decided to remove the public from their deliberations and to move forward with the vote on this agreement, with UMB Bank, we completed an ancient Jewish ritual called Kriya. Kriya literally means the tearing. Kriya is the tearing of one's clothes or the tearing of cloth to mark a great loss or to respond to a great evil. This practice comes from the book of Esther, when Mordecai, a Jewish man, is tasked with saving his people from a racist, narcissistic oligarch. When Mordecai learns of the decree to round up and kill all of his Jewish neighbors, he tears his clothes in grief and pain. Today, we tore our cloths and we mourned as the board decided to move forward with an agreement that would round up our own neighbors and profit from their suffering. We mourned for the people who have died in ISIS custody across the country and here at this facility. We mourn for those who have died crossing the US-Mexico border and in violence caused by US foreign policy abroad. We mourned in grieving anticipation of those whose lives will be threatened by the board's decision to move forward with this agreement. The ripped cloth symbolizes that certain types of loss can never fully be healed. The trauma of being detained can never be undone. Accounts of conditions here at the Wyatt Detention Facility and in other ICE concentration camps across this country show us atrocities that will never fully be healed. As Jews, it is our moral obligation to call out evil as we see it and to offer the lessons of the intergenerational trauma that lives in our bones. We speak up because our history is filled with cautionary tales of exile, persecution, and murder. This is not the first time our country has engaged in mass atrocity. We are currently on Mashpee, Wampanoag, Narragansett, Mashapog, Narragansett, and Pokanoket land, stolen generations ago by European settlers as part of a currently ongoing colonization. Rhode Island's own involvement in the trafficking of human beings stains our state history. The Chinese Exclusion Act and Japanese internment camps mar our country's history. But together, we mourn these historic and ongoing atrocities and commit ourselves to fighting for a more just future. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. בעלמא דברי חיותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דם אירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Now I'd like to welcome Kata and Areli from Amor to deliver a statement on the current situation at the Wyatt Detention Facility.
Buenas tardes a todos, mi nombre es Catarina Lorenzo, soy la directora de la coalición Alianza para Movilizar Nuestra Resistencia en Rhode Island.
Hello everyone, my name is Catarina Lorenzo and I am the director of the Alliance to Mobilize Our Resistance.
Como sabrán, una vez más aquí, una tarde más, es un desperdicio de tiempo de alguna manera decirlo así, porque no deberíamos estar aquí. Estamos aquí desde marzo este año cuando nos enteramos que la detención Wyatt firmó contrato con ICE. Desde ese entonces hemos estado presentes en este espacio.
We are here once again. We've been here since March when we found out that earlier that year the detention center had signed yet again a contract with ICE.
Lógicamente no estamos de acuerdo con eso, pero también estamos muy indignados cómo tratan la gente, criminalizándolos, pero también imponiéndolos una fianza de 25,000 para arriba, 25 entre 45,000, lo cual nadie puede pagar esa cantidad.
Logically, we're against this contract and this institution, but we are also here bringing awareness to the fact that people are being imposed bonds from $25,000 to $45,000, which is an amount that people cannot pay to exit detention.
Por esa razón, Amor, demandamos que Wyatt deje de funcionar por completo. La presencia de una prisión privada y federal en Central Falls y Rhode Island daña nuestras comunidades y nos hace cómplices del terror causado por esta agencia y institución.
For that reason, we demand that Wyatt cease to function as an institution completely. The presence of a private prison, a federal prison in Central Falls and Rhode Island hurts us, hurts our communities, and makes us complicit in the terror caused by this agency and this institution.
Pero aunque hemos estado aquí y seguimos en la lucha para cerrar esta institución y cancelar este contrato, nosotros sabemos que esta institución es solo parte de un sistema que se extiende fuera de esta ciudad, fuera de Rhode Island y que se va por todo el país. Por esta razón pedimos que esta lucha extienda también a sí mismo, como aquí vaya en otros estados de todo el país para que las personas que están encarcelados allá adentro no los trasladen a otro estado, porque eso es fácilmente, se cierra aquí, nomás lo vuelven en otros lados y en otros estados, así que eso es lo que queremos, que todos los estados se levanten, que no aceptan esta situación en ningún estado.
And although we're here, we do want to ask that this struggle, this fight to close this detention center continues in other areas and continues in other states and extends to these places. Because we're not just here calling for it to end here, just so people can be transferred to other states where they will continue to be detained. We're asking for the same struggle to continue in the places where these people could be sent to if we don't fight this as a systemic issue.
También entendemos que Amor lucha contra toda injusticia en el mundo para liberar nuestros pueblos, para que no sean forzados a emigrar y ser criminalizados en este país. Ellos no quieren para turistear, no vinieron aquí para pasear. Vienen para sobrevivir, escapándose de situaciones difíciles en cada país. Si alguien ha visitado esos países, o alguien es proveniente, o alguien es inmigrante, sabrán de qué estoy hablando.
We also understand that we're here to stand with the struggle and all the injustices that happen around the world to liberate our communities so that they are not forced to migrate and then come to be criminalized here. We understand that people come here not to be tourists, not just to walk around, but to survive for necessity. And if you are an immigrant or or visited these places, you know what we are talking about.
Nosotros, Amor, como una coalición de organizaciones que se mantiene en solidaridad con todas las comunidades que representamos y que nos apoyan, tenemos la obligación de recordar e incluir la lucha de nuestros pueblos latinoamericanos, también los pueblos del sureste de Asia, que hay muchos aquí, los pueblos palestinos, también el pueblo de inmigrantes africanos, el pueblo indígena en todo el mundo.
And as the coalition of organizations that maintain solidarity with all the communities that we represent and that support us, we are obligated to remember and include the fight for our community, for our Latin American communities, for our communities from Southeast Asia that are currently under a deportation crisis, for our Palestinian community and for our African migrant community, as well as all the indigenous communities that exist across the world.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Folks here? Can you hear? All right. Last week, California passed legislation banning private prisons. Their new law, it's being recorded, will shutter ICE's 4 major immigration detention centers in that state. California isn't the first state to take this step. There are a number of jurisdictions, including New York, Illinois, Iowa, that have enacted laws to ban for-profit prisons and stop private immigration detention centers from setting up shop in their states. Those acts of leadership stand in stark contrast to what we are seeing in Rhode Island. Here, our governor and top legislative leaders stood by and watched as the prison behind us contracted with ICE to wage war on human beings whose only crime is seeking safety and hope for their families. They stood by and watched as reporters shared stories from behind these walls of horrific conditions and inadequate medical services. Shame. They stood by and watched as this institution unleashed very real violence against their constituents. Shame. So our question tonight, now that we know that this prison is a wholly owned subsidiary of UMB Bank, and now that we know that UMB Bank is working as fast as they possibly can to sell this facility to an out-of-state for-profit prison corporation, is working to bring one of the most evil, and I don't say that word lightly, one of the most evil corporate entities on the planet into our state. Now that the facts are before them, will our state leaders continue to stand by and watch? Or will they finally step the hell up? That is what we are asking in the open letter that we are delivering today to Governor Raimondo. Because we want to be very clear. We want the governor to understand that we are tired of waiting for our leaders to lead. We are tired of hearing pledges of solidarity during election years that evaporate the moment the primary votes are done being counted. What we are facing right now in this country and in our community is nothing less than state-sponsored violent white supremacy. We are fighting against fascism. We don't have any more time to wait for folks to grow a backbone. So, Governor Raimondo, we are talking to you as Jews, as immigrants, as Central Falls residents, as Rhode Islanders who were pepper sprayed and assaulted with a 15,000-pound truck. Please hear us. We need you to step up. We need you to make good on the promises that you made to fight back against Donald Trump's immigration policies.
That's right.
We need you to stop ducking and dodging and join our call for immediate state action to ban private for-profit prisons in Rhode Island. Governor, this should not be a tough call. Do you want to be a leader against bigotry and violence and the dehumanization of our immigrant brothers and sisters? Or do you want a private prison corporation coming into our home to use our state to make dirty blood money off of human trafficking? Governor, what do you value more? The people of Rhode Island and the safety of immigrants, or the financial interests of out-of-state investors? That's right. That's the question before us.
Protect our people! 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 Protect our people!
Governor, protect our people! Protect our people. We are here tonight to invite you, Governor Raimondo, with open arms to join our fight. Our fight to make real the promise of never again. We look forward to working with you, and it is with hope and love that we are waiting for your response. But if we haven't made it clear enough tonight, I'll reiterate once again, we are not going to wait very long. Thank you.
That's right.
I'd now like to introduce Central Falls Councilor Jessica Vega, who has been leading this fight since day one, and despite the fact that UMB Bank is suing her for $100 million, she is still here to lead this fight.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you everyone for being here today. You guys are all my brothers and sisters in this fight for social justice. I'm not here to say rah rah, right? This is serious. This is human lives that we're talking about here today. I also want to shout out my colleague in the council, Jonathan Acosta, who is also here and has been a fighter for day one, and many members in the city council as well. My name is Jessica Vega. I am a proud Dominican immigrant and a Central Falls resident. I am aware that the laws in this country weren't written for people who looked like me. I'm aware that the very foundation of this government was based and rooted in oppression and inequality. Many people in this country in 2016 finally were awoken by the fact that this country still has disparities and that inequity still persists. Unfortunately for many people in that facility, this immigrant woman standing in front of you is a survivor and also a city councilwoman here in Central Falls. As a person in a position of power, my duty is to fight with and for my community, not to be embedded with greedy corporations and their goons. I am no one's fool. I was not born yesterday. I know that the Wyatt and private corporations and facilities like it are not invested in public safety or rehabilitation. They're here to profit off the backs of the very vulnerable, and they hide and justify their abuse by standing behind a coward who calls my brothers and sisters drug dealers, rapists who come from shithole countries. I'm disappointed by what happened tonight, but I'm not discouraged from continuing my actions. Last month, Governor Raimondo signed an executive order establishing the Juvenile and Criminal Justice Working Group, But I urge her to take it to another level. Step up. Ban private corporations from coming into the state of Rhode Island. I'm also calling out and calling in Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee. I'm calling out and calling in our state reps and our senators and their colleagues at the State House. We are all responsible. We are all to be held accountable for what happens here in Central Falls. I urge all Rhode Islanders to call Governor Raimundo, to call their state reps, senators, to call and tell them to take a stand on the side of humanity and for justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We just want to repeat the open letter that we'll be sending to Governor Raimundo has 3 really clear, very simple demands. First, publicly support legislation to close this facility down and ban private prisons in the state. Second, Governor, do everything in your power to release the ICE detainees currently held here at the Wyatt. And finally, through whatever means you can, ban collaboration with ICE all across the state and local level. And we'll be happy to take your questions.
So I've heard some concerns from the guards within that they're worried about jobs being lost either through a sale or through the closure of a prison. What do you have to say in response to that?
I think we're certainly sympathetic to people coming here looking for jobs. Maybe immigrants who come to this country and who are oppressed by these policies are looking for work as well. If you evaluate the goodness or badness of any proposition based solely on the number of jobs it creates or maintains, you end up supporting some really evil stuff. This facility was created and intended to support the Central Falls community, and I think it's pretty clear that has failed. People are looking for jobs, there's other options. And also, not for nothing, we know that at least one of the guards who works here came in from Connecticut. So it's not exactly like they're all local people looking for jobs.
What'd you make of the decision tonight to not hold the vote and to apologize for the way the meeting was moved?
I think... Can you repeat the question? Sure. The question, what do we think about their apology today for the meeting scheduling and their decision not to take the vote? I think essentially the talk is cheap. The decision to go into executive session shows that there is absolutely no commitment to transparency or public oversight. And if nothing else, it's the demonstration that once again, they are trying to have business as usual. This is just prolonging the status quo and getting us no closer to closing the Wyatt and getting ICE out of Rhode Island.
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Up with liberation.
Down, down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down, down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down, down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down, down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down, down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down, down
With deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation, up with liberation, down with deportation.
I hate to break, but I have some questions. The audio is bad. So we can step away. It's okay. I'll be right out there. I'm going to grab my camera.
Down with deportation, up
evening, we've sent a clear message to the board and to our elected officials at the state level. We will not stop fighting for immigrant justice in our communities, and we take it seriously when we say never again. Never again means never again for anyone. We will continue to oppose the privatization of prisons everywhere in this country and the detention of our immigrant neighbors in this state and in this country. We look forward to fighting with all of you and ensuring together that never again means never again for everyone.
Yes. Not in my pocket, but I can. If you want to give me an email, I can send one to you. Yes.
I'm right behind you.